Sacramento Act empowers ordinary people to identify and change the conditions that create economic and racial injustice. Our shared faith values call us to envision and build a just and equitable community for all. I believe that we have to organize because there are so many people of faith who have lost the sense of the power that they have. We seek, first of all, to see that power that's inside the individual and call that forth. As their power is elevated, we collectively have a stronger power together.
PICO was founded in 1972 based on this idea that people living in low-income communities are actually exceptional architects of policy. The PICO National Network is in 150 cities in 29 states. PICO California was formed to move state issues. We now have 16 federations across California that work together to move state-level legislation.
ACT was created by a clergy committee. They chose to bring the PICO network and create Sacramento ACT here in 1991. We're about trying to give power to people who don't normally have the power to address the issues that impact their lives. And our track record indicates that we've done that.
We could sit back in our congregations and talk about it. ACT was that tool that empowered it.
Neighborhood accountability boards, which is a way of early intervention for someone who commits a minor offense. The neighborhood accountability boards were, in fact, an early model of restorative justice. In 96, 97, Sacramento ACT start to train teachers on how to build relationships like we do in community organizing. And so all of a sudden, our idea became official policy for the state of California. Nothing else I've seen accomplishes that. Their number one concern was the lack of access to transportation. So that became our campaign. And it was a very, very difficult campaign, but we won.
A big part of Ceasefire was the community held those kids accountable. So anytime you bring a pastor, a victim of crime, a mom, an uncle, I think you're bringing the village to make change, and Ceasefire did that.
In 2012, we were fighting for the immigration reform. We did a pilgrimage. Yes, it changed a lot of people. Many people realize that we are humans. We have the same feelings. We have the same needs.
People sometimes tell me, David, you work so hard on that. What I really did was go to a lot of meetings. Today we have a really good program serving 3,000 people. It's very clear that many people's lives have been changed through this program. Some people's lives have been saved.
But as an immigrant, this is very important for me and my family.
When they built the King's Arena, we went in and negotiated a community benefits agreement where the building trades unions had to hire union apprentices. We got the Kings and other people to agree to ban the box.
I heard an old man say to me after Prop 47 passed, the work that you guys did just made a wrong right. One of the things it did is reclassify low-level offenses to a misdemeanor.
The school board voted unanimously this past May to put a parcel tax on the ballot.
We built relationships with the school board members, so now we still have those relationships and we know that they're committed to this issue.
There have been times where I'm at school and there's no one to translate for the parents that only speak Spanish. Everyone deserves the same chance to have success and education, don't matter color, race, or language that they speak.
About 5 years ago, no one in local government was willing to really talk about the problem. I'm happy to say that that has changed.
So what does this mean locally? Social health disparities were increasing. Communities of color were falling farther and farther behind. It's the voice of people of color that have to be heard the loudest and the clearest and race has to be at the center of that analysis.
One of the interesting things about Sacramento ACT is we're always learning and constantly evolving. Our Live Free Committee was organizing to increase opportunities for the formerly incarcerated, to take money from incarceration and to put it in restoring people's lives, as well as addressing police accountability and improving the relationship between law enforcement and community. We start to notice that there's a huge intersection across so many issues. At the same time that we're organizing on ending mass incarceration, we have distinct and separate issues addressing homelessness, mental health and healthcare, education, and immigration. We saw that our work to bring restorative justice into schools helps break the school to prison pipeline. We saw how mental health and lack of housing is connected to the criminal justice system. We saw how mass deportation was related to mass incarceration. But we were organizing separately. Over time, our leaders began the process of building relationships across the different committees. They stepped outside of the boundaries of race, class, and faith tradition and realized that this is impacting all of us. So, how can we all work together to ensure that we get reinvestment for everyone? Through our research and analysis, we see how many of our issues intersect in the county budget. And that's what brings us ultimately to reinvestment, to ensure that we are taking the money from investing in incarceration to invest in improving people's lives. We have to invest in preventative measures like mental health care, housing, and employment so that when people come out, they don't end up back in our jails or prison. We have to end the Sheriff's Department contract with ICE that incentivizes the incarceration of the undocumented. We're all in this together, and we want a budget that speaks to our moral values.
I think us as faith leaders have to step in this moment. ACT has given me that platform to demonstrate my faith.
What is your hope for your community?
And we need to do everything for our beloved community.
That we wake up recognizing our own dignity.
Engage more families and students in their education.
Economic equality.
You do everything for love and with love.
Sacramento ACT empowers
Ordinary people
To identify
and change
the conditions that create
economic and racial injustice.
Injusticias racial y económica.
our shared faith values.
Nuestros valores de fe compartidos
Calls us to envision
Imaginar
And build
a just and equitable
Community.
Comunidad justa.
For all.
for all.
para todos.
For all.
for all. For all.
para todos.
For all.
Para todos.
for all.
for all.
Para todos.